Hello and welcome to this live Q&A event today about R&D tax credits and how they can help businesses from various sectors. To deliver this event, we've partnered with Access2Funding to give you all of the information you need. Taking part in this live Q&A will be Dawn Coker, who's Director at Access2Funding, Thomas Ferguson, who's Head of Business Development, and Manufacturing Specialist Brian Sainsbury's. How will the event work? Well, we'll talk for around 20 to 30 minutes on the subject, and there'll be an opportunity for questions at the end. For those of you who aren't aware of Business Leader, please do visit our website to find out more at www.businessleader.co.uk. And to find out more about our sponsors today, visit access2funding.co.uk. So let's kick off. Dawn, we'll start with you.
Morning.
How are you today? Good morning. Just want to get your insight really into how you found the last 8 months as a business.
For us, it's been surprising. We have grown dramatically over that 8-month period. We've taken on 30 staff since March, which we have all done via Zoom. We've not met most of the staff. We're now Land's End to John O'Groats. And during that time, we've supported SMEs by returning approximately 13 million to date since March. So it's been a massive growth trajectory for us, bringing us forward our plans from next year into this year while we're supporting businesses. That's
great, and it's good to hear a real success story through these difficult times, Dawn. So congratulations to yourself and the team. Interested just to find out as well, what challenges are you finding that businesses are facing now?
I think the main one is cash flow. We're getting that all the time. The other thing is obviously from the client's point of view, applying for CBILS loans. Ultimately, that will stop in the end. So is how they're going to sustain themselves after that. We've done some very quick turnarounds on deals because the clients have wanted to go ahead quite last minute. So one, in fact, we turned around a client within 24 hours of them signing, and that client within 4 weeks was given 43,000 back to actually take on 2 new members of staff during a lockdown period and grow. So sustainability's been key, really. We work with a number of partners, as in introducers to us, and we've been helping them really in their sustainability. So it's the supply chain of those businesses we've been working with too.
No, thank you, Dawn. We're now going to move on to Thomas from Access2Funding. Good morning, Thomas. How are you today?
Morning, very well. Yourself?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, I just want to talk more specifically, obviously, about tax credits and similar tax relief now. I mean, how can they help businesses?
For me, I think the standout benefit for claiming R&D is it's the financial reward that the government offers for taking the risk in innovation. So how that sort of reflects back to the businesses, they can offset that benefit through their tax liabilities, or they can take it as a cash lump sum, especially given these difficult times, which would be most beneficial. And obviously that sort of benefits the client in terms of offering a level of sustainability back to the client as well. And you can also claim 2 years of retrospective with R&D. So a lot of the time, the businesses that we're speaking to have actually already undertaken R&D, but they actually didn't realise that there was a benefit to claim a reward back from the government for doing so. So it's really this is where we come in terms of dissecting a business expenditure and also the projects in order to get that reward back to the client.
No, thanks, Thomas. And how much can a business typically get back through these relief schemes?
So this really sort of varies on sector and size of business, but I would sort of encourage smaller businesses to sort of still investigate R&D tax credits, because we have seen some great innovation through these types of companies as well. On average, the UK claim value is around 57,000, and for example, in sectors such as manufacturing and construction, in particular, these usually yield higher results. Given the sort of workforce, the numbers of headcount, the cost involved in some of the projects as well. And just to give you an idea in terms of how that relates, our biggest client or our biggest claim to date as a company, they only turned over £50,000 or there or thereabouts, but actually sort of had an R&D claim of over £2.5 million, which again was a fantastic result back to them.
That's interesting there. Thanks, Thomas. And do you find it suits a certain type of business more than others?
So the criteria states you've got to be a limited company and liable to pay corporation tax, and R&D can take form in many different areas of a business. However, as a business, you've got to sort of have looked for an advancement in science and technology. You've had to overcome an uncertainty within that project, or you've attempted to overcome an uncertainty, and that uncertainty cannot be easily sort of worked out by another professional in that field. In terms of an area that can be sort of looked at, you may sort of research or develop a new product, a service or process within your company, or improve an existing one. And when you sort of break it down like that, this happens constantly across businesses. And I think, as Dawn mentioned there, since lockdown, we've helped all types of businesses throughout the supply chain, from an abattoir to a sausage maker. There's R&D taken in there under all those steps.
Thanks, Thomas, for that insight. I now want to talk about some of the examples of where it can be a success. Can you give some kind of examples of where businesses have benefited from R&D?
Yeah, of course. So we support, like I say, a lot of businesses around a range of sectors. However, I'll try and give some more interesting examples of companies that I've sort of assisted with. An example would be a sort of a specialist print company who was supporting the Bank of England with development of the new banking notes. Now they undertaken a huge amount of R&D with the prototype development, security development, and research and the materials as well. Now they actually didn't win that tender with the Bank of England. However, they were able to claim back the costs that were incurred by the business for actually attempting to overcome those uncertainties that they were faced. Another example of a client of ours were approached by Red Bull and Dyson, who were assisting government at the height of the pandemic with regards to the ventilators that the government were needing. And this engineering firm spent weeks in development of widgets, and they sort of had to undertake huge amounts of trial and error given the complex designs of these widgets that were provided to them by the companies that they were assisting. And they also had to sort of take further R&D in the scale-up process as well. So obviously when these were going to sort of mass production, they then had to create a new process in order to efficiently create the widgets that were put in front of them.
No, thanks, Tom. And I mean, it's been no secret, as you'll know, that the pandemic has affected some industries a lot more than others. I mean, how does it apply for industries like hospitality, and how can businesses in there benefit from this?
Yeah, obviously, as you probably can imagine, the lockdown restrictions that were enforced by government has had sort of detrimental effects on hospitality and leisure. However, there is R&D opportunities within these sectors. The hospitality and leisure sector is probably one of the most underclaimed sectors in across the UK. I think there was less than 500 claims according to HMRC's report in 2018 and 19. However, when you sort of look it down at a more granular level, there's development in the food and drink sector, for example, within hospitality. If a client's looking to improve taste, texture, or the nutritional values of a product, there's R&D involved in that. They could be sort of looking to improve the shelf life of a product. Again, what's involved in that? There's trial and error involved, and also if you're looking to increase or improve the durability of packaging products as well. Again, the process involved and the end product involved in that is where the R&D would lie.
No, thank you for your insight there, Thomas. I just want to bring Dawn back in now.
Hi, Ollie.
Yeah, welcome back, Dawn. Thomas was talking there about the hospitality industry. I just want to talk now about the manufacturing sector. I mean, how are these tax reliefs helping companies in that sector?
Massively so in the manufacturing sector. We work with a number of competent professionals, Brian being one who we'll introduce in a minute to you. that can help and support us in actually extracting the R&D from the manufacturing processes. As Thomas mentioned, it may not be an end product. More often than not, it could be the process that has been changed or adapted. And this is where somebody like Brian can support us as well in writing a computation to HMRC that is explanatory and easy for HMRC to understand the process changes.
That's brilliant. I mean, Dawn, you mentioned sort of Brian's expertise around manufacturing there, and I'd just like to bring him in now. So good morning, Brian.
Good morning.
Yeah,
okay?
can you just, yeah, no, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I mean, can you just elaborate on what Dawn's kind of mentioned there about manufacturing and how R&D supports business in that sector?
Yeah, definitely. As Dawn said, most manufacturers have gained massive benefits from the R&D tax claims. And the majority of these, I would say, were unaware of R&D tax credits, or if they were probably underclaiming. I think manufacturers in general are naturally innovative, and this often requires quite significant investments in new equipment, processes and people in order to achieve sort of ongoing productivity gains. Most of the clients that have been introduced have been able to make investments in these areas, such as new machinery, equipment, and it's all come from the R&D Tax Credits initiative. And the scheme, in effect, it's really specifically designed to encourage manufacturing companies to take advantage of it. It's not just manufacturing companies that have a product. Several businesses that have had advantage from this have been subcontractors, manufacturers that don't have their own product range. And they tend to manufacture on behalf of their customers, designed products. And the majority of these just didn't think they were eligible for the R&D tax credits. But when you looked at their processes and the process improvements they were doing in the business, many were doing some innovative things regarding their own processes and were therefore eligible for R&D tax credits. Just as an example, a client of mine who works in the telecommunications sector had the opportunity to do some work on behalf of quite a big telecommunications organization. But to do the job, they had to find a special tool. There was nothing on the marketplace. So they had to do their own research to find suppliers that were able to develop a tool working in conjunction with the client and the customer to ensure it achieved all the required cutting technologies. And that was all eligible for a claim under R&D tax credits. And the company recovered all the costs associated with that, and also work associated with fixturing, work holding, and even some investment in new machinery.
No, thanks, Brian. I mean, it's something that Thomas touched on earlier in terms of kind of food manufacturers. I mean, do you find that the sort of typical responses to this relief, where some companies are maybe skeptical about claiming or think it's not, it's not going to work for them?
Yeah, I think food companies in general, they tend to constantly be researching for new recipes to satisfy changing customer tastes, which of course, like Thomas mentioned, can be eligible for R&D tax credit support. Other manufacturers make significant investments in finding alternative ingredients or materials, as well as adapting new processes. All of these can often be technically challenging, but what most manufacturers tend to consider is they just view this as their normal sort of day-to-day activity without realizing what they are doing fits the criteria of the R&D tax credit scheme, and therefore they could claim and be rewarded for this.
No, brilliant. That's some excellent insight there, Brian. I just want to say thank you again to yourself, Brian, to Thomas, and to Dawn, and to Access2Funding, and all your expertise and your sponsorship. And I mean, if you'd like to get in touch with them, I'll tell you how you can now. So we'll just bring back in Thomas, who will go through how you can contact Access2Funding.
Yeah, you can get us at Access to Funding website, which is www.access2funding.co.uk, or you can reach us at hello@accesstofunding.co.uk also.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Thomas. I want to say thank you again to Dawn, Thomas and Brian, and do visit the Access to Funding website, accesstofunding.co.uk. Thank you very much.